I'm so excited to have the man, the myth, the legend. And, I say that every time I introduce Ray because he really is a living legend. How many of us have gotten some value from Mr. Ray Higdon? Can you talk a little bit about, like, because obviously you coach a lot of people in different companies and you
Yeah,
always have that unique perspective that many of us don't because we're only building our company. What are you
sure.
seeing right now that's working for fast and sustainable growth? Would love to talk about that.
There's one element that I'll talk about as far as fast growth. I mean, one of the absolute key things is you have to lead yourself despite what everyone else is saying, despite what the DSA is saying, despite what numbers are even saying. Like
Mm.
you have to do the work, whether anyone's doing it or not. Like I heard the other day, I heard two reps and they were talking. They said, "Hey, did you see that the DSA said we didn't grow last year?" And I'm just like, what are y'all trying to prove? Like what exactly are you digging into here? And because you need to not pay attention to that. Like if I paid attention to all the media, I'd be very depressed. I'd be very negative. I'd be, God, man, I'd be hopeless because, and I think sometimes that's where the media wants you. And so you gotta ask yourself, all right, what can I do, whether I feel like it or not, whether everyone else is doing it or not, and am I doing that, right? And that's a very basic, conversation. But if you want fast growth, it's going to come down to one thing, and I can tie this to every major growth in my life, and that is faith. And I
Mm.
don't necessarily mean faith like in God, just to be clear, because I was taking leaps of faith, before I understood God, before I came to God. So what does that mean? What is faith? Faith is a way of being, and it's a way of showing up. When I left, and I'm sure you've had this, I guarantee it, because no one that is at any level has grown without some type of leap of faith. And so, like when I left my last job, which was 18 years ago, I think, yeah, 18 years ago, no one thought that was a good idea. And honestly, it really wasn't a good idea because I didn't have a pillow, I didn't have a bunch of money saved up. I didn't have a lot of things that people would think that you would need. I didn't have a rock solid plan. I just had faith that, you know what, life can be better than what it is. And faith is in hopes unseen. Faith is not relying on your eyeballs, your bank account, your circumstances, but you move in a way that says things can be better. Things can improve. And if you have that, faith element of God, like I believe that God can improve any circumstance. I believe he can overcome anything. I believe he's got miracles. And I've seen it over and over and over just in these last, 8 or 9 months. But it's going to have to be, if you want to grow fast, it is not dinking and dunking and doing your daily routine every day, although most people don't do that. Let's be honest, right? So you think that that's the answer. That's not the answer to fast growth. That is the answer that you will grow if you do, the daily minimums or whatever, you'll grow, but you'll most likely come upon a point where you're knocked out of the game, either through health or the health of a family member, or you'll be upset about a comp plan change, or you'll be upset about something else like the spouse or something. But if you're making leaps of faith, if you're moving in a way that says, I'm not so sure about this, and you move in that direction, and all of a sudden you'll find that you're provided for. You'll find that you'll land in a much bigger place. And if you look at all of your major growth, you'll find that you took a leap of faith, or you didn't massively grow and you didn't grow fast.
Yeah, and it's funny too because it's of course it's always easy to be excited and have lots of faith and confidence
Sure,
when things are going well. But the true test
sure.
of a leader is when maybe things do slow down. Maybe you had someone quit your team that was a
Yeah,
big leader, or you see companies make changes sometimes, or I mean my last company got shut down by the Federal Trade Commission just like
yeah,
that, lost an income,
yeah,
lost a business, and I could have been like, oh, I guess I'm done, I'm going to quit, I'm going to give up, but
yeah,
we persevered and we kept
yeah.
going. And now looking back, it was a blessing in disguise. But at the time, it was like,
Amen.
why God? But
Yeah,
there's so many situations like that
yeah,
in our life. When we look at our life in reverse, especially as
yeah,
we age, right? We have a little bit more wisdom and
yeah,
perspective. We go, oh, that's why that relationship ended, or that's why I had to deal with that
yeah,
that situation that sucked
S-
at the time.
yeah.
But looking back, you're like, oh man, if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't happen, and that wouldn't
Right.
happen. Be who I am
So
today.
the faster you can start to look at your disappointment as this is happening for a reason. God's always in control, and this is happening for a reason, and it's to perfect me. And that is biblical, right? James 1 says, "Count it all joy, my brethren, when you're faced with different trials, because those trials produce a steadfastness and a perseverance within you, and they perfect you." And in Hebrews 12, it says, "No chastisement feels pleasant at the time, but painful, but it's producing in you a perfection." If we can start to more quickly look at our disappointments, look at our emotional, anger or rage or any of that stuff as, wait a minute, God allowed that to happen. What do I need to work on so that I improve, so that I get better, so that I can step more in faith? And again, faith is in the hopes unseen. If I relied on my bank account, and if I relied on what logically made sense, I wouldn't have grown that much. I never would have left the job, but I just operated in faith. And so I said, this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to pray on it and I'm going to do it. And so faith is the real secret to fast growth, is for you to stop relying just on your senses, just on your eyeballs, just on what logically makes sense, and move in a direction of, hey, John's done this before. I'm going to take his testimony and I'm going to go do what he says. Even though you don't have the results just yet, I'm going to go do what John says. And anyone in here that's had any kind of big growth, just look back at your life. It was a leap of faith, I guarantee you. I remember our first major event 10 years ago. It was Top Earner Academy. And this guy, David, he joins our mastermind, which back then was $50,000. We had a diamond package. And he joins it like on Saturday. And he's like, I got to be honest, Ray, like, I'm not flush with money right now, but you know what? I'm going to do this. I know it's going to be good for me. The next day, he gets notified that this real estate property he's been trying to sell for years, it gets a contract on it, and his profit is going to be $53,000. You can't make that stuff up. But I've seen that over and over where you make a leap where it just doesn't make any sense, time-wise, money-wise, or whatever. But all of a sudden you're provided for. All of a sudden something lands. But I would highly encourage you to be unreasonable. I mean, it's unreasonable nowadays because, when's the last time you were on a flight that wasn't delayed? I don't even remember. I think they're all delayed nowadays, right? Like when do you even show up anymore, right?
Yeah, they're either delayed or they lose our luggage because they were delayed. They were rushing. Yeah. That's been our experience the last couple months.
So it's a pain. It's a pain to travel. There is no question. But there's also power in being unreasonable and saying, I'm going to get there despite the schedule. I'm going to get there despite money. I'm going to get there no matter what. And one question you can ask yourself, and man, if you do this every day, I did this every day for 7 months, changed my life. And that is, what can I do today that would make me proud of myself? And what would make you proud of yourself? Doing something that you're scared of. Right? Doing something that makes you nervous, doing something uncomfortable. So some days it was having a conversation with my mom. Some days it was having a conversation with my wife. Some days it was, reaching out to someone that, I didn't think I had very good rapport with or was, bigger time than me or whatever. And some days it was, just doing the work when I didn't feel like doing it. And, but I can tell you, the more of that you do, the faster you grow. And all of a sudden you're just at a different level. If you're never stepping into faith and you're just relying on your eyes, just trusting what you see and whatever makes sense, whatever's logical, but whatever's reasonable, then you're gonna stay small under the radar. And so it's when you step it up, when you step into, I don't know what this is going to look like. This makes me uncomfortable. That's your big growth. And for me, I now know that's God moving in my life, and He's been perfecting me all these years. But regardless, even before I knew that, making the leaps that were uncomfortable, that is your secret to fast growth.
And it's like John Maxwell says, you either win or you learn. There is no losing.